Oh, Malcolm Nance. Hello.
Good morning, Steffi.
I am so glad we finally. This is not your normal day, and I've had to wait. You've made me wait all week.
I do that to people.
Fortunately, I had Rob Reiner and David Frum on with investigaterussia.org. Of course, is live this week, as you know.
Awesome. Yeah, I think Committee to Investigate Russia is going to be the resource on the internet for vetted, valid, mainstream media reporting to sort out the whole Trump-Russia investigation. And believe me, when things happen in the future, it's only going to become more valuable. It'll be the place to go in the morning instead of trying to sort through 500 newspapers.
Yeah.
And no fake news.
I was going to say, Malcolm, in terms of the target getting buggy, as my favorite spy would say, did you see Donald Trump this morning tweeted where is it? The Russia hoax continues. Now it's ads on Facebook. What about the totally biased and dishonest media coverage in favor of crooked Hillary?
What?
Oh my God.
Absolutely amazing. And that's right after Kim Jong-un masterclass trolls him by calling him a dotard, a doddering old man, technically, and insane. And the worst part is, as much fun as we want to have with this, we are in a situation.
We're in a situation where
Kim Jong-un and Donald Trump are threatening and could quite possibly push us to an atomic war.
No, it is really terrifying that, and apparently, this latest threat to drop an H-bomb over the Pacific it came directly from his speech at the UN, Trump's speech at the UN, to totally destroy North Korea, which would, I think, be a war crime, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and it's also a violation of the United Nations Charter, and he stood in the at the General Assembly at the UN and literally violated the UN Charter. But Trump was never a supporter or a believer in the United Nations. And for all his happy talk that he gave there, his supporters are pushing defunding the United Nations. At one point, there was a movement to kick the United Nations out of the United States. So obviously, the generals have gotten a hold of him a little bit and made him read a speech. But, as you know, just wait 24 hours and you'll get the truth of how he really feels.
Right. Well, I mean, you said that. You tweeted, pretty sure threatening to destroy a nation is a violation of the UN Charter. FYI, South Korea itself would be destroyed. You also tweeted, this is insane. No one should be betting the lives of millions of Americans and Asian allies on a successful war. It'll go nuclear and all will lose. I mean,
and that's what it is. This is a bet. The man is betting with his mouth that a million Americans between Anchorage, Alaska, and Seattle won't be killed in an atomic war. That the 25 million people in the immediate area of Tokyo, Seoul, and Beijing wouldn't be killed in a war, and the 25 million Koreans themselves. This is out of control. And
yeah.
I know I work with the media, but by normalizing this through discussions of, is this appropriate? Should we talk about that? What's the real risk? We shouldn't be talking about this. This is not adult talk. This is the kind of talk that children have when they're living out wild fantasies. And no one in the Oval Office, especially General Mattis, who I understood discussed with South Korea the potential of using tactical nuclear weapons. Hiroshima is the size of our tactical nuclear weapon.
Right.
So all of this is really starting to spiral out of control. And it just blows terrorism and Trump-Russia off the map. And if he's doing that to be calculating, then he's betting the lives of human beings on it.
Yeah.
But, I wouldn't doubt that was a calculation.
Well, that's exactly what I was about to ask, Malcolm. It is hard to see anything not through the lens of Trump-Russia and how, I don't know. I would have to say this was probably the most bombshells this week. Trump tweeted again this morning, the greatest influence over the election was fake news media screaming for crooked Hillary Clinton. Next, she was a bad candidate. I mean, I don't know if you saw Joe Scarborough, admitted this morning on MSNBC the media was not unfair to Hillary. I mean, anyone else knows that.
They say $1 billion of coverage.
Right.
And, this is, it is what it is. But let's set that aside for a minute. And the fact that, Chris Jalizza wrote an article this morning saying Hillary floated the possibility of contesting the election.
Right.
So
She,
you know,
she didn't say, well, she didn't say contest, but they said, if this investigation, obviously, I think it was on NPR, right, goes where we think it's going, would you
Right.
would you dispute the legitimacy? And she said, yes, I would, which, yeah, I
Well,
mean, she said, I know there's no mechanism in the Constitution, but, absolutely, Malcolm, if at the end of this, we've got to be able to call it out for what it is, right?
it'll be a constitutional crisis of its own in its own right.
Yep.
If this turns out to be true. None of us want this to turn out to be true. I know some people are like, hey, great, this is a way to get rid of Trump. No, it is a disaster for America if this happens. It means that the entire American democratic process has failed, and we shouldn't be rooting for that.
Yeah.
There's a mechanism to get him out of office because of everything that he's done and said. That goes without saying. And if it turns out to be that there was, and I'm trying to get away from this word. Now, everyone who's listening to me today, stop using the word collusion. The word is conspiracy, which is what they're investigating. Conspiracy is a law that can be violated. Any intent or acting with an intent to further along the conspiracy. All of this is a crime. And when I wrote Plot to Hack America, which, by the way, was written and published 1 year ago tomorrow.
Yeah, that's what we were saying.
Ago,
yeah.
Everything in it is still holding up, and it's still, and I floated the idea very early on that this was a racketeering, influencing, corrupt organization.
Yeah.
Investigation as well as potential espionage.
Well, I mean, this Manafort stuff, I think someone flat out, CIA guy said to Nicole Wallace, right? I mean, she said, wait, what? Are you saying that they're investigating where the Manafort could be a Russian plant? And he said yes. I mean,
right.
Because, I mean, this is just an astounding number of dots, as I guess we say, to connect, just with Manafort, right?
Well, you're absolutely right. And it's not just that he's a plant. It's that he was hired to be a facilitator to execute Russia's will. So, a plant, it's a question of whether he was a witting agent or an unwitting asset. And as I wrote a year ago, there's an entire section in the book called, Putin's Kremlin, Trump's Kremlin crew, where Manafort, Flynn, all of them were working not just in Trump's interest, but in the interest of Russia. There's a lot of talk, and I'll be honest, I've said this on television, so it's okay. There's a lot of talk that Michael Flynn may have been unwittingly turned into a Russian asset.
Right.
To where he was a disgruntled intelligence officer. Everyone in the community knows when you get fired or you leave, if it's on bad terms, you're a counterintelligence risk. You are primed to be turned into a Russian or foreign intelligence agent.
Yep.
And when Flynn was fired, his first contract was with Russia Today.
Yeah.
$50,000.
Yep. Well, and you also, I mean, it's just the latest piece. You said you tweeted Trump never mentioned Russia not once in his UN speech, verifying his personal capitulation to Moscow. What does Putin have on him? Right?
Absolutely. And oh, my God. And it's great because I got 500 replies of people who wrote what Putin had on him. And I swear, if I hear pee-pee tape once again. But, for all that we've said, there's going to be a documentary coming out in MSNBC in the next month or so about the Christopher Steele dossier. Everything in that dossier, with exception of the salacious stuff, is starting to be validated.
Right.
There was a report early on that Michael Cohen had been in communication with Russia, and now we're finding out he had sent secret emails to them promising Putin to promise the election to Donald Trump.
I'm sorry, says who?
Says who? Sorry, Michael Cohen.
Says who?
Oh, yeah, that guy.
Just kidding.
You got. But, this story is never ending. And when it's all said and done, and, I know I made a prediction that, in July, that it would be 10 months. That would be next spring. And I have a sneaky feeling based on the intensity of the Mueller investigation that we're probably going to be on target. Maybe not for impeachment, but certainly to the point where people will be shouting for impeachment.
Yeah.
And, it's simply becoming a question of, between people committing conspiracy and now the actual evidence. As I keep telling you, intelligence is turning into evidence to because it is now in the hands of the Justice Department, and the Justice Department is on the hunt. Mueller is not playing games.
Yeah. What do you make of Corey Lewandowski, who said, I think if anybody, and I've said this, if Paul Manafort, Roger Stone, Rick Gates, or Carter Page, or anyone else attempted to influence the outcome of the U.S. election through any means that's inappropriate through collusion, coordination, or cooperation, I hope they go to jail for the rest of their lives. He's, of course, well-known rival of Manafort's, right, having replaced him, right?
Yeah, if this was the 50s, he would have a TV show called Corey Lewandowski, Witness for the Prosecution. I mean, I think he is ready to drop dimes. I think he has signaled that whatever, even if he knows things incidentally, he may not know anything. But I think he's ready to talk, and he is setting himself up as witness for the prosecution.
Oh, the rats are starting to turn on each other.
Knowing nothing is not necessarily a liability, is it? I mean, just knowing nothing isn't a big deal anymore, is it?
That's almost anyone in the Trump administration.
Right.
What's fascinating, Nicole Wallace and Katie Tur were just talking about this yesterday, that Sean Spicer kept extensive notes. He did extensive note-taking during all of his meetings. So there's another witness for the prosecution that you can expect to see called into both the Senate committees and the Mueller investigation.
And it's not at all, it doesn't look at all guilty how spastic he got when asked about them. I just think these are like the worst witnesses ever, right?
If Sean Spicer ends up being the hero in all this, I'm going to be heartbroken. I'm going to be absolutely effing heartbroken. I can tell you that.
I'm telling you right now, they got to get Leonardo DiCaprio to play John Brennan, director of the CIA, in the made-for-TV movie version of this.
There you go.
Because he's the guy we learned earlier this year that went around hair on fire, got the FISA warrant, called the Russians, went to the Gang of Eight and told them the election is being hacked, and no one believed him except for President Obama.
I think Leo would do an amazing job as that guy.
Malcolm Nance can play himself because he's already a superhero.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't know who could do you justice. Ving Rhames, I'm not really sure. We'd have to.
Idris Elba.
Malcolm, great stuff, honey. Talk to you next week.
Okay, well, take care.
All right, there he goes. Malcolm Nance, I can't find my pants.